Hi, I'm Jennifer Morgan. I'm the Hunter Education Program Coordinator with the New Mexico Department of Game and Fish. Archery season is right around the corner, so today I'm going to cover basics of archery and bow hunting skills. You can follow along with me on pages 32 through 35 in your Hunter Education Manual. If you don't have a manual, you can download one for free at the link provided. So first, let's cover the types of bows that are available to you. The more primitive types of bows are longbow and recurve. Then you have your more modern bows like your compound and your crossbow. Today during this segment, I'm going to focus on the compound bow. So let's first cover the basic parts of a compound bow. You have your limbs, you have your cams, you have your string, cable, of course sights. I've added a stabilizer and a wrist guard here, and of course your quiver. These are your basic parts. As you can see, I've got a lot more other parts on here, but those are your basics. One thing that you need to remember when you are purchasing a bow is you're going to need to make sure that this bow matches you. You're going to need to have the draw length matched to you, and you need to pick a draw weight. All that needs to be specific to the shooter. I highly recommend working with a reputable archery shop to help you with that, especially if you're going to be buying a used bow. So all of that needs to be matched right to the shooter so you don't have any safety issues and you can enjoy the sport of archery. All right, we've talked about the types of bows available to you. Now we need to talk about the arrows. Arrows come in different types. We have wood, fiberglass, or carbon fiber. Again, your arrow needs to match your draw length and the draw weight for your bow. So again, work with a reputable archery shop to help you with that. Parts of an arrow, of course, we have our tip. I have a field tip on this particular arrow. You have your shaft, you have your fletching, and your nock. Most archers like to use an opposite colored vane or feather. That helps with you when you're nocking your arrow on your string. I kept talking about your draw weight and your draw length to match what you're going to be shooting. And so with that, that's the importance of the spine or the stiffness of your arrow. You want to, again, work with that archery shop to make sure you have this proper stiffness on your arrow. To match the weight. Again, that is for safety concerns because there's a lot of energy coming out of these bows, and you want to make sure that this spine can withstand all that energy that you're going to be shooting. That particular arrow had a field tip. Of course, if you're going to be hunting, you need to have a broadhead fixed to your arrow. There's lots of different broadheads available to the market, so pick whichever one that fits you or fits the game that you're going to be hunting and go with that. So safety concerns with your broadhead or your field tips, of course, is it's highly recommended to always carry your arrows in a covered quiver. And I've got a hard one here on my bow. These are lots of little razor blades, so you don't want to be carrying them in your hand or having them in something that's soft where these are going to cut through. So covered quiver is the most important for covering your tips on your arrows. So when we're talking about the use of broadheads on your arrows for hunting, it's important when you're changing out those tips, going from a field tip to whatever broadhead that you'd like to use on your hunt, make sure you use an appropriate broadhead wrench when removing or putting on those broadheads. Because remember, they're very sharpened little razor blades used for cutting. So don't use your hands, use something, a tool to help you change out those blades. Before you start shooting, it's important to determine which is your dominant eye. You can refer back to my Basics of Marksmanship video that I did a few weeks ago that will provide you an activity that will help you determine which is your dominant eye. Also, before we start shooting, let's cover some basic archery safety rules. First off, make sure that you have an appropriate backstop behind your target. What I like to do is set up my target at my yardage Then have a nice big wide backstop behind it, just in case I don't hit my intended mark. That backstop will help capture any missed arrows. Next, never shoot straight up in the air. Always remember, what goes up must come down eventually, so never shoot straight up. The next one is never dry fire a bow. And what I mean by that is never take any bow that does not have an arrow knocked on the string. Don't take that string back and just let it go. There's a lot of energy in this equipment, and if it doesn't have an arrow knocked on it, that energy has nowhere else to go but in the actual bow itself. Watch this quick little video that will demonstrate to you what happens when a bow is dry fired.
Welcome to the Texas Bowhunter Journal. This issue's tech tip is to not dry fire your bow like I'm about to do. I'm going to give a 3 count so the cameras can catch it. 1, 2, 3. Ow!
One other thing that you need to consider is setting up your maximum effective range, or MER. What that is setting up and shooting at a range that, one, is comfortable for you and is appropriate to your skill level. You also need to consider your draw weight. So when you're establishing your maximum effective range, for some, especially new or novice archers, that range might only be 15-20 yards. As you become more proficient, you practice more, your range and capability is going to expand. Now your equipment, people might tell you, oh, you can shoot up to 60 yards. Lots can happen in 60 yards. If you practice enough, you have the right equipment, and everything is just the way you think you have it, then that might be your maximum effective range. It varies for everybody based on your skill level and how much energy your arrow is going to have to make a quick, clean, humane kill on your intended target. So all of that is a factor in your maximum effective range. The other thing you need to consider as a bow hunter is taking that ethical shot on that animal. Patience has a lot to do with bow hunting. Patience and practice. The best angles for a big game animal is either a quartering away or a nice broadside shot. Quartering away opens up that animal's vital area behind the rib cage, so your arrow has less of a chance of hitting a rib and deflecting. But a broadside is also highly effective and recommended as well. And that's when that animal will give you that nice shot to get that arrow right behind that front shoulder. So always be sure to take the time to practice and be patient when you're bow hunting. There are several different ways that you can bow hunt. More typically is spot and stalk, hunting from a ground blind, or out of an elevated or a tree stand. If at any time you think you're going to be hunting from a tree stand, I highly recommend that you watch the short video segment at the link provided below. Any time that you're going to be hunting off the ground in an elevated stand or a tree stand, you need to be wearing a fall arrest system. Fall arrest systems are unique to each person, so you'll need to make sure that you find one that fits you in a size and also on weight. A fall arrest system should have the shoulder harnesses, safety strap, buckle in the front, and the straps that you step through. All of those need to be provided and included in a fall arrest system. Be sure to also follow manufacturer recommendations on that proper fit and size. Although bow hunter education is not mandatory for archery hunts in New Mexico, it may be required in other states. Be sure to check the rules and regulations before you go. If you'd like to learn more about the Bowhunter Education Program or the National Archery in the Schools program, please visit our website at www.wildlife.state.nm.us. Thanks for joining me again today, and we'll see you next time.